Hey YouTube, this is Firewizard23. I just want to take this time to make a video talking about my thoughts on the Secrets of the Immortal Nicolas Flamel series by Michael Scott. My first gut reaction, this is an extremely complicated story that has way too many characters. That's my first gut reaction. Really, honestly, my first gut complaint about this series. There's just so much going on. There's just so many characters. Yeah, that's my first thought. Let's give the general gist. Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers of this series. First off, the story primarily focuses on a pair of twins, Sophie and Josh Newman, who become intertwined in events that have been foretold and set up for millennia for them to do a very destined thing that they are supposed to do. There ends up being all these mythical characters who come in who are called elders, and we have immortals who come in, and there's all these cool side characters. There's the immortal Nicolas Flamel, and he's the alchemist, and they got his wife, the sorceress Piranel, and she's a sorceress, and they got the magician Dr. John Dee, who's trying to get the Flamels because they're hiding something, and what you have is a series that has a bunch of interwoven plots. A lot of them that don't go anywhere. That's really kind of the first thing that I see as a glaring problem with this series, is that they could so streamline a lot of the ideas that they throw out. And I feel like a lot of it was a setup for doing certain things, but it doesn't really pay off in any meaningful way. I believe it's in The Magician, the second book of the series. As you're seeing it on the image, they are the books from the top 1, 2, 3, and then the bottom 4, 5, 6. In The Magician, I believe the idea is brought up of a character having kind of their powers unlocked in a certain way, that they could have all their senses enhanced and stuff and be able to do magic. That, you could do this if you wanted to. And then, like, that thread is never touched again. And then another time a character's like, I'll capture their parents, and I'll force them to do my will. And that's never brought up again. Oh god, the complete retconning of certain characters. There are characters who just kind of, like, show up in the series, and then, like, later on when you see them again, you like, find things out about them that are like, well, wait a minute, if that was true, then why did this character... There ends up being a time travel storyline in this towards the end of the series, and it raises to me just so many... I'm sorry, this is such a bitching rant. I'm sorry. There are so many complaints I have about the whole time travel aspect of this series. It's like, we had to wait, 10,000 years for the Twins of Prophecy to come out, and then they would come back in time and do this thing to make sure that humanity would exist. Why didn't they do that the first time? There's almost like this thing, like, it happened before, but they need to make it happen again, and... I think that there's just so much going on in this story. I think they just got lost doing it. It's kind of like... Lost did this better. There's certain things that people got pissed off about with Lost, but at least it was entertaining to watch. That, they had, like... The first season kind of had, like, chapters of each character where it's like, we learn about this character very directly and their motivations. And yes, we do learn about the characters' motivations in this story, but they seem to... They are not characters, they are devices to accomplish something in this series. I don't really feel like their personality becomes something. Like, let me give Nicolas Flamel as an example. Again, major spoilers. Nicholas is the alchemist in this series. He's known as the alchemist. He's been alive for about 600 or so years. And his whole gimmick, what he's been doing throughout the 600 years of his life, is for the most part, he's been looking for the twins of legend, the gold and silver. And he finds them in Sophie and Josh. We learned that he's found other twins, but they actually turned out not to be the correct ones. But he has found a gold and a silver, and it turns out these are indeed the correct ones. The entire thing that he does throughout the entire series is try to keep the kids safe and have them trained in the elemental magics. That's it. I don't think I could really tell you anything about Nicholas aside from his relationship to Perenelle, who is his wife, who is the sorceress, who she kind of has the same thing going. And like, oh, you hurt my husband, and I have 600 years of spell on you, asshole, and I'm gonna blow your ass away. And you got Dr. John Dee, who we learn more about. Dee is kind of the evil character in the series for the most part, where his thing is Nicholas and Perenelle have also been guarding what's known as the Codex, which was written by this ancient guy called Abraham the Mage, and it has the secret to immortality. It's also how to end the world. It's on the very last page of this book. And he's been looking for Nicholas and Perenelle the whole time to try to grab the book and take it back. And it's on this auspicious occasion that Josh and Sophie are introduced to this whole magical world and what the hell's been going on. And Dr. John Dee, he's like super rich and he's really influential and he can do all this evil magic, and he's like trying to be like tempting the twins whenever he can get one, especially Josh. He's like, oh Josh, we could do this, and imagine all the stuff you could do with all these cool powers, The characters in this series, I don't think I could tell you anything more about them other than for a few of them. A few of them get really good stage time. Towards the end of the series, I actually start to really admire John Dee. He has kind of a turn at the end of the series where he actually has the worst fate he was ever imagining placed upon him, and we kind of see his humanity come back. And there's a side character, another character who I guess could also be referred to as a magician. I don't think he's a necromancer. I don't think he is. Named Niccolo Machiavelli, who I love him. He's kind of like, whereas John Dee is, he's like really intelligent, really cunning. Niccolo Machiavelli has a much more. He's also like he's also on the same side as Dee, but he's very. There's an elegance to his evil. He's not the kind of guy who will like go out, guns blazing and blow people away. He's got this elegance to the way he does things. He's not. He is I would say if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, he's a demon versus a devil. There's a proper way to do things in his mind. And actually, towards the end of the series, much more fleshed out, actually, we realize that he's actually not in agreement with what they want to do. Because the bad guys in the series, the big bad guys like the Elders, they basically want to kill the humans. It's basically the major goal of the Elders. They want to kill the humans and bring back the time when they ruled the world. When they were the ones making the rules. And Niccolo Machiavelli, over the time of his immortality, he's also immortal, he came to the realization that it wasn't okay to just be killing humans all the time. And that came... There are so many introductions of mythical characters in this series who are immortals. We have Joan of Arc. We have Shakespeare. We have... I'm not even kidding. We have William Shakespeare in this series. It's nuts. I swear to God, this guy just picked whatever he wants. We have Gilgamesh. We have Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid is immortal in this series. It's really kind of insane as far as I'm concerned. I really feel like this guy just picked anything he wanted for a plot and just hoped it would stick to the wall. Oh, this is really cool. I'll put this in. Oh, we'll have this cool spider and I'll throw that in. And the biggest thing that I had to rip my hair out about, that I was just like, this makes no... Because they're training Sophie and Josh in the elemental magics. Sophie learns 3, then they find out... Sophie learns 3, Josh learns 2. Then Sophie finds out that, like, magic isn't elementally based. It's basically about thinking, and it's like, okay, thanks for just completely tossing out everything the series has basically set up to say that the elemental magics just don't exist in any tangible way. It's all about thinking. Even though Josh does something at the end of the series that would suggest that they are, I don't get it. There are things in the series that blatantly contradict each other, and I don't understand why. Why is it written like that? That's incredibly confusing. That's not satisfying as a narrative. I don't know the rules of this world. I don't understand what the rules of this world are because you don't have any consistency about them. And that's not fair. That's not fair to your reader because the expectation keeps changing. You're changing the rules in the middle of the game. You can't do that. Okay, back to the thing that pisses me off. We learned that most of the immortals in this series, a notable exception being the alchemist Nicolas Flamel and his wife, Flamel, they have to become immortal through an elder. An elder has to grant them immortality, which an elder can rebuke by simply touching them and chanting like a magical phrase, and their immortality goes away and they would crumble to dust, being that old. Especially Dr. John Dee, who's 600. At the end of The Warlock, the 5th book, Sophie and Josh travel back 10,000 years in time, and they find their parents, who turn out to be Isis and Osiris, who are Dr. John Dee's elder masters. His elder masters. At a point in this series, Dr. John Dee would have come up with the idea of, I'm going to capture these kids' parents and make them work for me. Dr. John Dee is a pretty smart person. We found out he has this file, and he's been keeping track of like all these elder characters for centuries and centuries and centuries. Presumably, when he gained his immortality, he must have been in the presence of Isis and Osiris to do so. And, you know, we established we're in the internet age. It's not like he couldn't look things up and find this out. How does he not know Isis and Osiris are Josh and Sophie's parents? Which we find out they're not his parents. They're not actually their parents. We find that out. Nor are Josh and Sophie actually twins. It's weird. It's so freaking weird that you just totally upend everything. Like, it is well stated in all 5 books that they are twins, and the 6 books, it's like, no, they're not twins. They're not twins. Isis and Osiris just went through time and found them. By the way, Isis and Osiris aren't actually immortal Dark Elders. They're Earth Lords. They're like giant turtle monsters. I mean, it's possible that Dr. John Dee saw them as turtle monsters, but then he certainly would know what an Earth Lord is. But then how does he recognize them when he sees them as their parents? You can't write a series like this. You can't write a series where you have these major plot issues that you don't resolve. This is like the ending of Harry... This would be like if you ended Harry Potter... Let's say you had the last Harry Potter book. I'm speaking specifically to the Harry Potter fans out there. Let's say you had the last Harry Potter book. And we never explain what the Deathly Hallows are. We don't even mention the word Deathly Hallows. We just start talking about the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Cloak of Invisibility. But we don't mention the Tale of the Three Brothers. We don't mention them as the Deathly Hallows. We just say, hey, by the way, there are these 3 magical, powerful objects that can do these things. Voldemort's probably looking for them. You better stop him. I'm sorry, you'd be pissed off that 7 books, 7 years of this character's life that you've witnessed, we're just going to completely cop out and say, yeah, by the way, it's going to come down to these 3 things, here you go. Which, arguably, many argued was a plot issue of the 7th book. Anyway, the fact that it was kind of just shoehorned into the plot kind of forcefully, but there was some setup of those items at least. They just kind of tied them together with a nice little story. We found out where the Elder Wand had come from. It was actually very well established that Dumbledore was a good magic user. We know he won the wand from Grindelwald in the duel in 1947, I think it was. Because we saw that in the Frog card in the 1st book, and Harry's had the invisibility cloak for years. So we know that was true. So that's fine. We've already established that. But this series just doesn't even try to maintain itself. And oh God. Oh, no. Okay, so Josh and Sophie have traveled 10,000 years in the past. They see Isis and Osiris. They see their parents. Okay. Rather than the question being, what the fuck is going on here that we just traveled 10,000 years into the past, and here are our parents that we were talking to a week ago, I think this whole series takes place in like a week, I think. It is not until the end of the story. I'm not even joking. The end of the story where they're on top of the pyramid of power where they're going to do this cool stuff and make the end of the series happen. That they actually just directly ask them, "You are not our parents, are you?" That would have been the first thing out of my mouth. The first thing. You are not our parents. It makes no fucking sense. And finally, it comes out what the answer was, that they'd found them through time and stuff, and they just found a gold and a silver who matched the prophecy. It's so weird, and Josh becomes death. I don't understand. That's so flippin' weird. And they got this. There's a ninja in there, and Prometheus comes in, and Mars Ultor comes in, and they got Palamedes, the Saccharine Knight. They got Sakatash the Shadow. I actually really like. I would say Sakatash. That's why I know how to say her name. Scatty is what you call it for short. I actually like her. She's a shadow. She's like this ancient warrior who's been trained for years. I'm still trying to figure out how the time stream in this works, where they went back into the past. Like a group of them went back into the past, and somehow all the immortal characters kept living normal lives and came forward in time. But then, how does the main time stream stay consistent? I don't know. I have never been so frustrated with the plot of a story. There was a book that I was given by a coworker when I worked for an ice cream factory that he wrote, Night Stalker, Trouble in New York City. Biggest issue with that book, that guy just needed a fucking editor. He just needed a basic editor because he just wrote things that made absolutely no sense. They were just blatant, beat-for-beat points of action that just did not make any sense. When he's saying that something is trapped inside a glass box and I don't have the key, I need to push that button to save the world, and then I push the button and save the world. It's like, how did you get that open? That is such a laughable problem to what I see in this series as you just have too much going on. You did not. I do not believe this series made proper decisions about what was going to be important in the narrative, what to mention in the narrative. I think this series took the opportunity to mention all these interesting historical characters, all this archaeological stuff, all these interesting ideas, but then didn't know how to fit it together logically. I mean, I really think there's this huge issues. I mean, we end up seeing flying saucers in this series towards the end. We see pyramids. We see the birth of humanity. We see Anubis. We see Aten. We see, and it's just, you're just doing everything you possibly can. It's just like, what the hell? I don't think I can really say much more about this series. It was such a clusterfuck of ideas. I really think this guy just did not know where he was really going with this, other than just a very general idea, and he just threw everything he possibly could at this, and just, I don't think it works. I don't really think this actually works as narratively well as he thinks it does. Alright, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. That's my review of this series. It's a great adventure. He's just got so much going on. I think it's just so overwhelming at times. It's just, I really think he just didn't know where he was really going with this, with most of the ideas he has here. All right, this is Firewizard23. Take care and bye-bye for now, everybody.